Are we all set?
Apparently we are.
I, Margot G.K., Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown, do hereby state that it is 7:33 p.m. on Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, and that this regular hybrid meeting is being held via webinar and in person. Both adequate and electronic notice of this meeting were provided according to law by written notice to the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted in Town Hall and on the town website and filed with the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. I will take a roll call. Councilman Armington.
Here.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Present.
Councilwoman Foster is excused this evening. Councilman Iannacone.
Here.
Councilman Silva.
Present.
Councilman Umbriak.
Here.
Council President Mayer.
Here.
Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. May we have a moment of silence? Does anybody have anything to add? No? Thank you. If everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be great.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started, please be aware that public comment during the public hearing portions of this meeting will be held both in person and through the Zoom app. At the appropriate time, members of the public wishing to speak should indicate so by raising his or her hand in chambers or in the app. To comment via Zoom, click on the Raise Your Hand icon at the bottom left side of your screen. You may also raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. When it is your turn, the moderator will send a signal through the app and ask that you unmute yourself so that you may be heard. To unmute yourself on the phone, press *6. Before we move on to the consent agenda, just an announcement that administration has requested that ordinance O-18-2023 be withdrawn. With that, there will be no presentation by topology this evening either. Moving on, there are 4 items on the consent agenda. I will break them into 2 groups. I would ask for a motion to adopt consent agenda items 1, 3, and 4.
I'll make a motion to adopt 1, 3, and 4.
A second.
Margot, clarification, those were amended with my comments?
Yes, sir, they were.
They were, thank you.
On the adoption of items 1, 3, and 4, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak?
Yes.
Council President Mayer?
Yes.
For item number 2, approval of minutes, June 8th, 2023, Town Council redevelopment meeting. May I have a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
A second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Abstain.
Councilman Umbriak?
Yes.
Council President Mayer?
Yes.
Motion carries. This time, I will open the floor for a public hearing on the adoption of the 2023 Special Improvement District budget. Excuse me. For remote members of the public, please raise your hand in the Zoom app to indicate that you would like to speak. If you've joined the meeting via telephone, press *9. Kindly state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Is this for anything or just that?
This is just the 2023 Special Improvement District?
Oh, that's the new zoning?
No, sir. That's the Special Improvement District budget. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. This time, I will open the public hearing for any matter. Please be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of council and/or administration may be ruled out of order. No comments were received via email.
Come on up, Haley. Delhi, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Bill Byrne, and I live at 100 Franklin Street, Morristown. And I'm here to talk about, I've been walking like around Morristown, and I notice sometimes when by the Women's Center, I saw somebody that park their vehicle by a curb cut there. And, that's kind of like blocking the curb cut, because if somebody's like in a wheelchair and they were coming down the sidewalk, and say if they wanted to cross there, they wouldn't be able to cross there. So I just asking that law enforcement got to do a better job in that area. Not saying that they're not doing it, but, just to give them a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak? Come on up, sir.
My name is Ken Hoffman, 12 Hill Street, and I'd like to address the concerns regarding the two possible votes regarding the zoning changes along Morris Street. I live on Hill Street, at the foot of Hill Street, so it's very close to the situation, and I've lived there since 1972. So, first of all, I want to thank Bob Iacone because he sent out a summary of what was happening in our ward, and that got me thinking for the first time in quite a while about how important zoning is to our neighborhood and community. And I appreciate you taking the time to write that lengthy memo to your constituents. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I would like to speak in favor of the zoning resolution with the least impact on historic buildings on Morris Street from Pine to Blatchley. And that, I believe, is the first resolution, where there would be 3, not 4 stories proposed. And I think it's important, as Mr. Iacone said in his notes, that the zoning not impact the historic nature of those buildings, because the concern is that zoning heights will lead to an increase in property values, that in turn will lead to demolition of buildings and possible loss of Morristown's historic nature. So I think it's important that we consider those buildings, and it's even more important because I received a letter from the state of New Jersey back in November of 1986 from the Department of Environmental Protection, Division of Parks and Forestry, Office of New Jersey Heritage in 1986. I am pleased to inform you, this is directed to me at 12 Hill Street, that the Morristown Multiple Resource Area, Morristown, Morris County, was entered into the New Jersey Register of Historic Places on September 11th, 1986, in accordance with the New Jersey SA statute, listing of an area, site, structure, or object in New Jersey Register of Historic Places prevents the state, a county, municipality, or any of their agencies or instrumentalities from undertaking any project that will encroach upon, damage, or destroy the property listed without approval from the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. So that was a letter I received, and I thank my wife for being as diligent as she did, and it was found in her files. She didn't even remember it. Then, another thing I found, this is a Star Ledger article dated March 16, several months later, in 1986. The boundaries of the new district, to include most of town center, would be the Morristown train station on the north, James Street and Franklin Place to the east, Western Avenue to the west, and Ogden Place to the south. That would appear to place the properties in question in the extended historic district, as it was designated by the state in 1986. It's been a long time, but nevertheless, it's in the record. And what got me started on this, pardon me, is a plaque from the state that reads, "This property has been placed on the New Jersey Register of Historic Places by the Office of the New Jersey Heritage Division of Parks and Forestry, Department of Environmental Protection. This has been hanging in my hallway for about 35 years. So, this got me thinking, well, I need some backup material, and then I found the other material which we had put away at that time. So, I'd like to ask whether anyone here was aware of the Extended Historic District or the, what they call the Morristown, what was it? It's a funny name. Morristown Multiple Resource Area. That's the designation, the Morristown Multiple Resource Area. I think it's something extremely important. Again, those buildings are of historic nature, from pine to elm and others in the area as well. That is the Extended Historic District, and we should be very careful about legislation which negatively impacts those buildings and those communities, including Pine and King. It's
Mr.
extremely
Hoffman,
important.
your 5 minutes are up, so if you have
Okay,
some closing
good.
remarks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to come up? Come on up. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I second what Mr. Hoffman
You have to state your name and address,
said.
please.
My name is Rich Modzelewski. I live at 14 Hill Street in Morristown as well. With regard to what Ken said, I've been trying to interpret this map of the Morristown Land Development Ordinance, and I have trouble separating the blues there. I don't know if you've had the same problems here. But anyway, from what I can determine, you use the word historic, suburban, residential for the dark blue. And that seems to appear only beyond Ford Avenue, including Morris Avenue, Valley View, Washington Avenue, Georgian Road. Now, I don't mind giving these people historic designation, but there are many, many other properties in Morristown that deserve at least the word historic in front of the zoning. Our property is considered pretty much listed as suburban residential. Now, you could just add the word historic, and you may say that may not mean anything, but when it comes to development, I'm sure adding that word would have an influence upon the developers and what the town sees as being done with that area. I think it's an important difference, and I don't quite understand why that section of town is considered historic, and yet buildings like ours and many other places in town, let me just open that up, are considered historic on the zoning map. It really doesn't reflect the real nature of the town, and it doesn't act as an element of preservation. I don't see why it can't be done. Well, I don't see why it was done this way, and I can't see why our areas were left out. Let me continue here with what I had planned to say, but that I think is an important element. We know Morristown has been noted as a desirable place to live. Conveniences for residents are only a walk away. It's undeniable that Morristown has experienced tremendous growth, yet we still live with the remnants of a colonial era with our roads. Limited road widths still survive without the ability to change. We make do with what is in place. These factors lead to our limitations. It's my opinion we have reached these limitations on Morris Street. But I will support the first resolution limiting growth to 3 stories, like other arterial roads. I realize proper growth and development is important to our town. Morris Street was once a colonial era turnpike, and now its width remains locked. Many small shops occupy the street, making it convenient for local residents. Just from the corner of Pine to Elm Street, shops cater to numerous foods, nationalities, and cultures, from American, Italian, Asian, Spanish, and Polish. Parking for these buildings is already bordering on inadequate. Unfortunately, increasing the density of the area will change the nature of these town amenities. Parking will become virtually impossible and lead to a diminished ability for these businesses to transact business. Adding stories to the zone will prompt demolition of older buildings to larger, more potentially modern construction, thus the loss of small entrepreneurs and cultural diversity. I hate to say it, Max on Morris, the new building on Ridgedale and Morris, is an example of what we might expect, a building with no character. That's the way I look at it. Too large and not in keeping with the neighborhood. With a town as successful as Morristown, there's no reason older buildings can't be renovated and even repurposed. One classic example is the town bar and restaurant. Once 1900 grocery, now an exceptionally successful business. It's important to recognize the empty lot adjoining the once held Dell's Novelty since a fire at Blatchley Place to its demolition. One can only assume this grouping of buildings will be demolished for greater density if permitted. I just want to make note that Blatchley Place was once mentioned as significance in historic reports because it represents a style of commercial development from the end of the 19th century, with most of its facades remaining intact. One of the most serious problems on Moore Street is traffic. With the burden of 2 more large buildings coming soon to M Station, I don't think we have planned adequately for what potentially will prompt more traffic congestion leading in and out of our town. Already I see many times when Moore Street has been backed up from the traffic circle to Ridgedale. Also, lacking of parking is already a serious concern. A basic question I have here is why? Why support more congestion? Why more parking issues? Why potentially change the character of a convenient shopping and diverse neighborhood simply to satisfy desires of increased density? And I guess the question is, when will it end?
Mr. Modzelewski, your 5 minutes is up, so
Okay,
if you'd
I
like
think
to
I
make
hit
some
my
closing
points already.
arguments.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Come on up, sir.
I'm John Hoyt. I live at 13 Hill Street in Morristown. I would like to endorse what my researching and esteemed neighbors have said. I think it's important to preserve the historic nature of this town, and it seems to me that the first resolution seems like the right thing to do to limit the height of the buildings from on Morris Street between King and between Elm and Morris. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Come on up, Frank.
You only get 3 minutes.
It's always good to have point, counterpoint, right? And this is good. So I'm Frank Vitolo. I'm with the law firm of Sills, Cummis, and Gross. I'm here on behalf of 3 different clients. So, I mean, I'll take the 5, but I think I can get more than that because I have 3 clients.
No.
No? Okay. I'll try and do it. I'll try and do it in 5 minutes. First, I want to thank the council. This code needed updating. There was a lot of glitches in there. I'm on the front lines battling it out at the boards over this code, so thank you for that. It's going to help a lot to move things along, so well done. The amended zoning, ladies and gentlemen, is the most consequential thing you will do this year. I guarantee that. The zone you're creating, you're calling it the transition zone. It's going to eliminate tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of potential development value in this town. Tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's not the developers who are going to be impacted primarily. I know that's sort of in my opinion, a misnomer. They'll take their money and they'll invest it somewhere else. Westfield, Summit, Maplewood, places like that. The brunt of these changes will be borne by the people, the families, and the individuals who own all the properties along the affected streets. They're going to take the brunt of this rezoning. And that brings me to my general comment about this rezoning. Despite what Kevin Coughlin thinks, not everyone reads Morristown Green or goes on the Morristown website. I don't know if you all know this, but there was no notice given to all the impacted property owners. There's nothing illegal or improper about it. It's just that the town decided to do a re-exam and then do their rezoning where there's an exemption. Nonetheless, it's in my humble opinion and on behalf of a lot of my clients, I think it would be really smart if you guys are going to reintroduce this to give notice to all of the impacted property owners in Morristown. By individual notice, takes a stamp. I don't know how much a stamp is these days, but I mean, they're going to potentially lose floor density, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think they should know about it. You have a lot of people who don't even live in Morristown anymore who own these properties. You have people in Florida, South Carolina. I think we owe it to them to at least give them notice of what you guys are going to do because of how impactful it is. That's my general comment. I just wanted to say on behalf of my two clients, Scotto Properties and JPM Washington LLC, we are in agreement and support the changes that were proposed by the Planning Board at their June 22nd, 2023 meeting. We are strongly in support of those changes. We thought it was some smart tweaks made to the zoning. My third client, though, does not support the zoning, and I will speak on their behalf. That is the Olnick and Fisher organization. They own Headquarters Plaza. As you know, Headquarters Plaza has undergone some tremendous changes lately. During the pandemic, they did over $20 million in improvements to the Grand Hyatt. They did over $5 million in improvements to the Pioneers Plaza. They entered into an agreement with Valley Bank for parking. An application was just filed by a new restaurant for Headquarters Plaza, and there's another application coming. And they're continuing to improve the exterior and interior finishes of that project. However, the most dramatic alteration to a zone district by this rezoning is not along South Street or Morris Street. It's actually in Headquarters Plaza. And when I say it's reducing their ability to build a 14-story tower to a 5-story tower. And the way that the town did this in the revised zoning ordinance is in a footnote, they said that no new construction on the Spring Street side of Headquarters Plaza could be any higher than existing Pioneer. And as you know, there's a dramatic grade change, so no building can go higher than that grade change. The problem is that Headquarters Plaza has for, 10 years or more, been planning to come up with a way to camouflage that, I'll say it, ugly garage on the back side of Headquarters Plaza. And if you limit their height to 5 stories in the back, they can't build anything to camouflage that because it'll only go as high as the garage, and no one's building a residential or a commercial building that backs up into a parking garage, and there's no air or light above it. So what Headquarters Plaza, and they've asked me to come here tonight, is to say to you, please, before you reintroduce the zoning, meet with them and talk about a compromise that will allow them to improve the backside of Headquarters Plaza while still recognizing the concerns that everyone here has about height. So that's that is my final comment. That's my specific comment on Headquarters Plaza. I thank all of you for your time this evening. This rezoning stuff is not easy. It's complicated, and I really I commend you for putting in the work and for digging into the details, because that's what we're here to talk about. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Michello.
Council President, if you wouldn't mind, I'm having some technical difficulties with the Zoom link, so would you mind taking a quick break so I can make sure that the people at home can
Sure.
view the meeting?
Just hang on for a moment.
Thank you.
Can I sit down?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll call you back up when she gets done. Thanks.
What is the protocol for speaking on two different topics?
You can bring them both up when you come forward.
Both?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Am I right?
Yes.
That's correct. The time limit, it's general public comment. You can speak on any matter you want. And you can speak on multiple matters. That's fine.
I want to see that. I want to see that.
Stop the meeting.
Would you like a mint?
Do I need one? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Which page did you say this was? 70?
Broadcasting. Back to the anybody has a public comment.
70. Bigger, we can't see this one. Of course, doesn't send me anything. You can't get it.
Yeah, if we restart the meeting, we just would have to log off and restart, so I can make this.
How long does it take?
It takes a few minutes.
I'll use the bathroom. Want to suspend the meeting?
Yeah, we have to
So,
suspend the meeting. Yeah.
So, Council President, I have to log off and restart the Zoom meeting, so those people at home, if you'll just re-log into the meeting in a few minutes, once we restart the meeting, then I'll be able to restart the agenda.
Okay, are they hearing you give this instruction?
I believe that's part of the problem, is I can see the number of attendees, so I think they're in, but I cannot interact with them.
Okay.
So in order to, and there's no way to really reset the Zoom without restarting the Zoom meeting. So
Okay,
I'm going to
everybody
have
will
to.
take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, thank you. Good. I would give a minute for all the attendees to rejoin.
Okay. You can come up, you can come up to the microphone, we'll let you know when to start speaking, okay?
Nine of the 12 are back, so.
Okay. Why don't you state your name and your address, and we'll get going again.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jamie Vance Paul, address 26 Linden Street, Marshtown. Okay. So the first topic I'd like to speak on is the issue that was brought up earlier by three gentlemen, my three neighbors from Marshtown, about the congestion on Morris Street. In my opinion, the circle is much too small, and it's causing accidents to occur. It's confusing, and I personally don't know when to make a complete stop, to pause, or to continue going. It's much different than any other circle I've ever been in, like the Somerville Circle. My issues with Marsh Street is that the congestion is just horrible between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. I totally avoid going anywhere near Marsh Street. The congestion is horrible. The parking is insufficient, and it's very sad because there's some lovely restaurants on Marsh Street, like the Mediterranean Grill, which is one of my favorites, and there's just simply not enough parking. And if something isn't done, I really fear that we're going to lose our good restaurants in that area of town because of the insufficient parking and the horrible congestion at rush hour. So that's my first topic. Okay. So I'm going to stay for a second topic. My second topic is I'm here in support of Flagler Street being renamed to William Butch Barber Way. His life, dedication, not only to the city but to the community, from Madison Street to Collinsville to his beloved Caldwell Playground. He brought all kids together and fought for the betterment of the community. I would like to personally applaud you for acknowledgement in renaming Rose Street to Reverend Gordon Way in 2015. Thank you for that. Butchie's life sacrifice, he's also deserving of this renaming honor, as you have over a year to validate this man's accomplishments with the city and the community. Again, in my opinion, and in several of my friends and people that I went to high school with and I've been friends with my whole life, there is no one more deserving of this honor than William Butch Barber. Let's give him this honor while he's still here to see it happen. Again, I am supportive of renaming Flagler Street to William Butch Barber Way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the chamber that wants to speak? No? Jillian, is there people online?
Yes, there's one attendee. Oh, boy. It's an email address, phunt. If you would please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Great. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. My name is Pishot Hunt. My first name is Maurice, so Maurice Pishot Hunt. I now live in 1428 Glenwood Road in Glendale, California, and I'd like to speak in support of an honorary street, William Butch Barber, if I might. First of all, good evening to the members of the Town Council for giving me this opportunity to share. Again, my name is Pishot Hunt. Growing up in Morristown, most people may remember me by my first name, Maurice. So happy to share a few words about a man that has made all the difference in my life. That person is Mr. William Barber. I have to admit that it's kind of difficult to keep this to a few minutes, but I will try my very best. I had the honor of meeting Mr. Barber when I was in my early teens. It was during the summer program for the neighborhood youth that Mr. Barber needed someone to help out with his recording equipment. I volunteered. Little did I know that summer would be, that summer meeting Mr. Barber would make the biggest change in my life. It wasn't long before I was a cameraman for Mr. Barber's local cable television show called What's Happening Now show. Many people might still remember that. Being a shy individual, I confided in Mr. Barber that I wasn't readily and able to kind of help out with this big responsibility, and I needed help in understanding lenses and lighting and composition. It was him who kind of connected and used his resources to support me in getting that information at the community level, at the community. It was that community neighborhood house, and that was one of the places that he connected me with. His biggest phrase in my life that I use this very day is, "We got this," meaning that we, the community, got this, and I didn't have to do it on my own. Mr. Barber, not knowing how to get to where I am today, asked me, what is it that you want to do and in your personal goals? At that moment, early in my youth, I told him that I wanted to work in the animation industry. Again, he used that famous phrase, "We got this." My grades weren't that good at the time, so next thing I know, he was helping me with tutoring and getting my grades up. My grades did improve with the support that I received from Mr. Barber. And now in a community of people who were helping not only me, but other members of the community. I gotta say that this mantra that I learned from Mr. Barber, "We got this," is a mantra that I repeat in my life to this very day. I need to kind of fast forward and say, today I am a teacher, an art director, and a director in the animation industry. This year, Walt Disney Company is celebrating 100 years in animation, 100 years of feature animation entertainment, and I'm the first African-American director listed in their animation feature films. Without the love, care, and support that was modeled to me by Mr. Barber, I'm not sure what my life would be like. So today I would like to add my name to a long list of people that have come together in honoring a hero of a man named Mr. William Butchie Barber. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Betty Ann Bryant. If you would please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for your time and your diligence. And thank you for all those who are in support of the William Butch Barber renaming sign. I'd just like to share...
Ma'am, what is your name and address, please?
My name is Betty Ann Bryant. I'm a former Marstonian. I currently live in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have been a part of the celebration of the William Butch Barber Day that now we have reached the 1-year anniversary. I wanted to share an email that I received. We heard from people from all over the country that used to be former Marstonians. I'd like to share one with you, if I may. And it reads, and it was given to someone else, so I'm not going to read that person's name. I just want to read who it was from. It's Jerry Rota, R-O-T-A. Hope all is well with you. I need some information. A little while back, I saw something about a day called Butchie Barber Day coming up. Can you send me that information? I was talking to a man tonight named John Loya. That's John Loia from Morristown, New Jersey. And he was telling me that he has been trying for years to get in touch with Butchie to thank him for what Butchie did for him back in 1969. Butchie was able to get John Loya, again, John Loia, into a small college out west. And John graduated from that college and went on to an amazing career and life. And he said if it was not for Butchie helping him, he would not be where he is today. I need this information so I can call John to get him, and hopefully he can, excuse me, and hopefully he can travel to Morristown from Colorado. Again, he just wanted to share how Butchie has touched him. So again, we are so pleased that throughout the years, Morristown has recognized some of the pioneers. The one most recent, what my colleague Jamie has spoke of, Reverend Gordon Way, which an ordinance was implemented and it was given to him in 2015. I'm hoping that the council, the mayor, can push this through while we still have Butchie here today. And again, no one is no more deserving than William Butch Barber. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant.
God bless you.
Would you like to come up?
Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Javon Thompson, formerly of 27 Linden Street, Hazel Street, Hillary Court, and also Clypots Drive. I want to take you back to the 1950s in the Clypots Drive. When I moved there with my mother and my brother, it was quite different from Linden Street, which was a dead-end street, and maybe we had a handful. Between Linden and Liberty, maybe there were a gang of 20 kids. When I got to Clypots Drive, there were hundreds of kids my age, and I was about 5 years old at the time, just all over the place. And right in the middle of those kids, young kids, I was 5, maybe between 5 and 10, there was like a group, a layer of kids that hung out together, was Butchie Barber. First time I met Butchie, he jumped out from behind the building and started growling, and kids ran everywhere, and I just stood there because I didn't know what was going on. And they said, "It's Butchie, run, run, run." I didn't realize it was a game that Butchie had been playing with young kids for years. The next time I have a strong memory of Butchie was in high school. I sort of had a love-hate relationship with Butch in high school. I'd walk down the hall, and Butchie would be coming the other way, and he would grab me by the shoulders and say, hey, G. He called me G, although my name started with J. He said, "I want to put on a rally, maybe something about unity. Sketch out the details. I'll talk to you tomorrow." And then he would walk by, and I would, "Wait a minute. I have my own life here." He would say, "Make it happen." And the next day, we'd get together, and all of a sudden, there would be a community-wide, with high schools from all over Morris County coming together and doing a rally. We did one called IT down at Burnham Park back in the day. As a result of training with Butchie and being under such intense pressure with him, a man who did not know the word can't, I was able to start producing my own shows. I went on, got a scholarship as a result of that, went to college. I worked with Oprah Winfrey. I worked with her husband, well, Stedman, not really married, but worked with him. I was on a soap opera called All My Children, and I wrote a book and several videos, I think 5 videos. And when I look back to see where that inspiration came from, there are people in our community that are lawyers who came from that group of kids. I know a lady who ran a newspaper came from that group of kids. I know accountants from that group of kids. And our parents back in those days were not those kinds of people. I was raised by my grandfather. He was a garbage man. So the influence for us came from the outside sources. And the one that I relate to more than anyone else during that time is Butchie Barber. Butchie had several qualities that you don't normally see in one person. He, as you may know, was very, very powerful. At the same time, he could work with young kids in a gentle way that inspired them without being overly aggressive. But he was always like a tick. He'd burrow into your consciousness and not let you go. And as a result of having that kind of never say no, never say can't, most of us were able to go on to do really good things. So you don't see a person who has that balance of qualities in one body. Politicians are powerful, policemen are powerful, presidents are powerful, blah, blah, blah. But they don't have that gentle lamb quality that can also work with very young people in a very effective way. Now, I don't want to be redundant, but I've heard people say there is nobody more deserving than this honor. But that is just the bottom line truth. That is just the bottom line truth. There's been no one in our community that I can think of, a single person who has done such a wide variety of good been William Butchie Barber. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we ask Mr. Byrne, did you forget to say something before?
He already went.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't come back up and speak again, you've already spoken once.
Huh?
You can't come up and speak again, you've already spoken once. It's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Okay, sorry, Bill. I apologize. And,
I don't have any other hands raised online.
okay, we are going to close public comments and move on to response. Council response to public hearing comments.
Let me start then with the comments from the folks from Hill Street. First off, this ordinance, just so folks know, was introduced before, but it's now being reintroduced. So it's an introduction, which means that in another 2 weeks, there'll be a hearing on it. But I will say that I think that we have had time to deliberate on it.
Won't be 2 weeks, Bob.
Let's go back
to the planning board. Gotta go to the planning board.
Planning board. It goes back to the planning board, so we even have more time. And it goes to the planning board, and it's going to be discussed again, but it went through this cycle once before. So as to the comment that there was not enough time for deliberation on this, there still is more time, and there's time now to deliberate on this. But I will just clarify, in the first ward, the changes that are being made is really only the change being made to Bletchley Square, which is just those buildings that the two of you were referring to. The zoning to 4 stories from Pine through Bletchley isn't changing. That's what it is now, and that's what it's staying. And what's also staying is the Morris prior to Pine. That's staying at 5 stories. But I think the other point that you're bringing up is that, this is changing the zoning, but we do have to pay attention to the applications and what's going to occur after this zoning is put in place. And that is our responsibility, and the town is very aware of its responsibility. Planning board, Board of Adjustments, and the like, will deliberate on the various applications. But that's where the decisions are going to be made as to how these properties are developed. Okay? We are setting some parameters, though, with this ordinance, and what we are doing is we are preserving at least that small piece of the historical, hopefully the historical nature of Bletchley Square. That being said, we have to stay involved. Okay? We have to stay involved. You do have concerns like the historical nature of the town that you're discussing. I think it's very interesting. I think we need some clarity as to, and this is not the place to do it. This is not the place, and tonight's not the place to do it, okay? But we do need some clarity on what's historic and what isn't historic. What are the parameters around the various designations? Who can designate and who can't designate? I think that has gotten away from us to a certain extent, and I think your efforts tonight kind of have pulled that back for us, and you've raised that awareness back to this council. And as to concerns about the people who live there, I will say, and I say this all the time, I don't think any town in the county has done more for low and moderate income housing than the town of Morristown, okay? And so when you talk about people who might live there.
Recording in progress.
Live in those areas, we do a lot for people with low and moderate income housing. As to protection of people in terms of rising rents due to redevelopment, because it does happen. When anybody building a building has to recoup their construction expense. How do they recoup that construction expense? They recoup that construction expense via rents, okay? We are aware of that also. We saw what happened. We heard this when we were doing the deliberation on M Station. A lot of support from the communities that use those old stores that were in Pine, in the Morris Plaza there. Some of them did find locations elsewhere in town. I think a lot of effort was done to support them to find those locations. Some of them did not survive. Okay, and that will happen. That's just, I hate to say it, but that's evolution, to a certain extent. But we are aware of that too. And I think that when you look at this ordinance, I am supportive of it. Okay, and when you look at this ordinance, it's a good start to do a few things. It addresses maybe a big step, at least, or maybe only a first step, as to continuing our discussion, which we're well aware of, on density and on the traffic in town. But it is a good first step. And it's a good step in and of itself also. So I'm supportive of this, and I'm supportive of its introduction tonight. But I think coming out here and how articulate all three of you, all four of you were on this topic, keep talking to us.
Thank you, Bob. Tawana?
Yes, so I just want to acknowledge those who came out tonight regarding our ordinance that we are passing. This ordinance actually is a ordinance to amend the code of the town of Morristown to add a new section regulating honorary naming of streets and public areas and placements of monuments in the town of Morristown. So us passing this ordinance tonight allows opportunity now to, there's a process, an application process, and that can happen once this is adopted. But I want to thank you all for coming out and sharing your warm thoughts about Butchie Barber. And now you have an opportunity, your organization, to go through the process of applying for that. So thank you all for coming out, and yeah, that's it.
Anybody else? Mayor Doherty, did you have any comments?
I have a whole bunch. As soon as you let me 10 minutes of my time, I'll speak.
Sure.
Council
Is it
President,
time?
are we proceeding to mayor's section on the agenda?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
That's what I think the mayor's asking you.
Oh, normally you have response to
I have no
public comments?
response.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you did. Yes, we're going to move on to the mayor's proclamations and
Report of mayor and town officials.
I don't have any pocket.
For the mayor.
report of the mayor.
Okay.
I apologize for
There's
not wearing
two
glasses.
things. Two things I want to start off with. One is, if the council and the public could remember Sergeant Adam Hagelin, his mom passed away, and her name is Christine Yvonne Cujo. No arrangements are made this time, but keep the family in their thoughts and prayers. He's our sergeant. He's an excellent police officer in the town of Morristown, one of our top guys, and I was informed today of the passing of his mother. Second thing is, I just want to touch base, thank you for everybody who's coming out and the hard work and the persistence to make this happen for Butchie. I'll give you one Butchie story. When I ran for council many years ago, I went over to see Butchie Barber at his house. He was the council president, and asked his permission to run for office as a Democrat in the town, as he was the leading Democrat. And he had a very long talk, invited me in his home. We had a really long talk. But what the really coolest thing that my experience was his radios. He had the coolest radios. He had so many, and the time he took out to talk to me and to get an understanding of how a governing body works, on working together for the better part of the community, and he always reminded me before I left, and I didn't win that election, but he always reminded me, always remember, no matter what you do, it takes 4 votes. And you have to work with people to get things done. And it's been with me for 20-plus years. So I'm really happy that the council subcommittee was able to get moving on this and get it done, and the council is moving it, and the persistence of the public to recognize all the work that he's done. And I got to spend some time with his wife at the Junior Matrons Cotillion over the weekend. So it's a wonderful family and a wonderful job he's done in Morristown. And it is great to recognize somebody while they're still here. And I think that's one of the most important factors in this movement to rename for Butchie Barber Way. That's all I have on that. Thank you again for all coming out. Saturday the 17th, we had Juneteenth Festival in Morris County on the Pioneer Plaza. It was excellent. They had 2 spots, the green and the plaza. Great speakers. It was a great event. Tuesday, we had the Morristown High School graduation. 463 graduates. At Morristown, somebody went, it's a good graduating class. And I'll get this right, Sanofi, which is, as I was told I pronounced it correctly, did their groundbreaking, which is the 9th largest pharmaceutical company in the world, is moving the United States flagship to Morristown. 7-Eleven reopened. They had a 2-day festival, and I know people who like 7-Eleven coffee are happy. I actually, first time I had coffee at 7-Eleven, and it was good. They did a great job on that building. They followed what they presented to the planning board to the T. The inside is done well, the outside is done well, and we're happy that they chose to stay in Morristown as they were part of the relocation from M Station. Upcoming events. Town Hall is closed on Independence Day, July 4th. July 9th, Diversity Day at Morristown Green, hosted by the Presbyterian Church and Diversity Coalition of Morris County. You can learn more at www.diversitymc.org. So it's DIVERSITYMC.org. It'll be on the website, so you can check it on the website. And also, in my final comments, is to, if you get a chance to go down Speedwell Avenue, which I know a lot of us do, they removed all the construction equipment, all the barriers, and it is a different look than what people have been looking at for a long time, with all the material that's been up there, all the one lanes, and now it's wide open. And again, they've done a great job, and when that's all lit up, it's going to fit in nicely across from Headquarters Plaza and the Hyatt Hotel. And I've gotten several calls and ran into several residents who are very happy with the finished product once all the construction and all the barriers have been removed. On that note, that's all I have, Council President.
Is there a moving date for that? Do you know?
I don't have the moving date.
Mayor, so when the DOT repaved Speedwell Avenue, they left off that little section so that they could be do construction. Do we know if DOT plans to come back at all, or?
I believe they are planning on coming back, but I don't have a timeline on that yet.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we'll have more information tomorrow on the opening, and we'll make sure you all know.
Thank you. Council liaison reports.
Meeting will be July 11th.
The Housing Authority actually had a meeting scheduled for last night, but again, this is the second meeting in a row that they failed to have a quorum, so the group did not meet as an authority.
So, Council President, may I interrupt 1 second? So I called on that last night and was told they had a quorum.
They did not.
Okay. I know that, so the public all knows the rain we had yesterday and the rain we're having now is causing flooding, not just here, but everywhere. I was in Baskin Ridge today, obviously, for something, and trees were down everywhere in Baskin Ridge, like a tornado went through. There were big trees laying across the roads everywhere. So these storms, again, are extremely, extremely volatile. And the rain that comes down, I believe we had up to 4 to 6 inches of rain in no time. So it's not an easy thing for anybody to deal with. And I know that's why I called, because of the rain.
I'll say it. I have to say it wasn't weather-related.
Wasn't related?
It was not weather-related.
Because I did call and I was told there was a quorum.
Yeah, there was not.
All right. Well, thanks for the information, because that's not the information I received.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Tawana, do you have a shade tree report?
I do not.
What?
They're allowed to not have a report once in a while.
Kristen H. is slacking.
Okay, moving on.
I have a partnership update real quick.
Okay.
So the partnership met on Wednesday, June 14th. Sure.
Save that.
Some updates include the Morristown Farmers Market began last Sunday, June 18th, and will run through Sunday, November 19th from 8:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. And it's located in the Morristown Parking Authority Lot 10 at Spring and Morris Street behind the Morristown Post Office. Mark your calendars for Meet Me in Morristown, which will be held on Thursday, July 20th and Thursday, August 17th at Vail Mansion Plaza. Artists will showcase and sell their work, musicians will be featured along the streets, and many Morristown businesses will operate sidewalk sales and demonstrations. With the help of a generous community partners, some of the town's holiday decor is being refurbished for the upcoming season, so more to come on that. And please look out for the Morristown Partnership Summer in Morristown publication that's coming in the Star Ledger and NJ.com on July 16th.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to regular business. Marco?
Okay, there are 4 ordinances for introduction this evening. The first being ordinance O-11-2023, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 30, Land Use Regulations.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance O-11-2023.
I'll second.
Are there any comments or questions from council? On the introduction of O-11-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
And Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-11-2023 has been introduced properly by title and is scheduled for a planning board consistency review on July 27th. Public hearing and adoption is tentatively scheduled for August 8th. Ordinance O-19-2023, ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 30 Land Development Ordinance of the Code of the Town of Morristown to revise the requirements for the location of off-site low and moderate housing.
I'll make a motion to introduce O-19-2023.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from council?
So just for the public's record, information, this, for as long as I can remember, the zoning code has allowed that up to half of the required affordable housing for any development could be off-site with approval of the planning board or the governing body. What this does is, what we've seen over the last 10, 12 years when that's happened is that the affordable housings are focused on the second ward where the properties are the land prices are least expensive, and so we're not getting the full breadth of affordable housing throughout the town. Many of the projects that we have done on redevelopment basis have been done within on-site. So this essentially eliminates that off-site requirement opportunity.
Question, Council President?
Sure.
So, just so the public's aware, the off-site isn't out of Morristown.
No, yeah.
It's in Morristown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on the introduction of ordinance O-19-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-19-2023 has been properly introduced by title and is scheduled for planning board consistency review on July 27th. Public hearing and adoption is tentatively scheduled for August 8th. Ordinance O-20-2023, an ordinance of the Town of Morristown and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, for compensation for management/non-union positions in the Town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted.
I'll make a motion to introduce O-20-2023.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from council? On the introduction of ordinance O-20-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-20-2023 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on July 11th. Ordinance number O-21-2023, an ordinance of the Town of Morristown and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, for compensation for the elected mayor, town council members, and council president in the Town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted.
I'll make a motion to adopt O-21-2023.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from council?
Just noting, I believe that this will be the 12th year in a row that the council and the mayor's salary stays the same, more or less, so.
12.
Maybe it'll change next year.
The last
Maybe.
increase, I believe, is in 2018 or 2019.
Oh, yeah, there was one small increase, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, on the introduction of ordinance O-21-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-21-2023 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on July 11th. We have 3 ordinances for public hearing and adoption. Ordinance O-15-2023, a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $2.1 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of 1.995 million bonds or notes of the town to finance part of the cost thereof.
I will make a motion to adopt ordinance O-15-2023.
I'll second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-15-2023 only. Seeing no members wishing to speak, I will close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? On the adoption of ordinance O-15-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-15-2023 is adopted. Ordinance O-16-2023, ordinance appropriating $565,000 from the Sewer Capital Improvement Fund for various sewer improvements in and by the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, New Jersey.
I'll make a motion to adopt O-16-2023.
I'll second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-16-2023 only. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? On the adoption of ordinance O-16-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-16 is adopted. Ordinance O-17-2023, ordinance to amend the code of the town of Morristown to add a new section regulating honorary naming of streets and public areas and placement of monuments in the town of Morristown.
I'll make a motion to adopt O-17-2023.
I'll second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-17-2023 only. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments?
Yes.
Questions from council?
There's a comment. So just for full transparency, there is language in this ordinance that states that the name of a particular person to be selected shall be a person deceased at least 5 years or more, but it is at the discretion of the council members to waive that. So I just wanted to state that.
Yeah, that's a very important clarification.
Yeah.
For the people that are here advocating for the rename of the street for William Bushy Barber, that they don't go under the impression that this is something that is done. They have to go through application, and there are some rules within this legislation, but it's the discretion of the council to waive some of the rules considering the history of the person.
And which doesn't set precedent, so.
You can't speak. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So, once this is adopted, you will be able to read it. It will be public knowledge, and then you could ask the administration questions if you have it of what the process is, and there'll be some clarification.
Not here.
No.
Not here.
In
I said
the
after.
clerk's office.
Yeah, so after it's adopted and it gets finalized, then you can read it and go through the language of it.
Council President, if I just may, just to clarify, this will be through the clerk's office,
Through the
not
clerk,
through the
I'm sorry, through the clerk's
administration.
office.
Correct.
So you could ask any questions tomorrow, though, in the future, and then you could get the process. So
Okay, on the adoption of
You can't-
ordinance
you can't yell out.
O-17.
There's no comments from public at this time, but thank you.
On the adoption of ordinance O-17-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Ordinance O-17-2023 is adopted. There are 18 resolutions for adoption this evening. Would members of council like to pull any for separate consideration?
If I-
101.
Which one was that, Sandy?
101?
I like to pull it, but just for one comment, 91, 92, and 93.
All together?
But put them together, yeah, don't do them.
Any others?
90?
I said 91.
90 as well. I have a question
Okay,
about that.
any others? Okay, with that, I would ask for a motion to adopt resolutions 82 through 89. 82, 87, 88, 89, 94 through 100, and 102 and 103-2023.
I'll make a motion to do that.
I will second.
Wasn't sure what you just said.
On that motion, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriak.
Yes.
Council President Mayer.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, 90. Let's see, Resolution R-90-2023, resolution of the Town of Morristown authoring a 5-year contract with Axon Enterprises for in-car video cameras and services under state contract.
I'll make a motion to adopt?
Yes.
Adopt Resolution R-90-2023.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes, so I just wanted to know how many cars is this for?
It would be for all of the marked squad cars that are used for regular patrol, not for the construction vehicles, but all of the marked patrol cars.
Okay.
Thank you.
On the adoption of Resolution R-90-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbreak.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Motion carries. So 91, 92, and 93, resolutions approving the submission of a grant application and execution of a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for funding for the fiscal year '24 municipal aid program for Elm Street, Pine Street, and Western Avenue improvements project, for the King Street and Morris Street pedestrian safety improvement project, and for the Transit Village program for the King Street and Morris Street pedestrian safety improvements project.
Okay, I will make a motion to adopt resolutions R91, 2023, R92, 2023, and R93, 2023.
I'll second.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yeah. First, before I give my comment on this, in those group of resolutions we just approved, and this, again, is a compliment to our administration, I'll say, we get a lot of grant monies. I mean, in this resolution that was just approved, people don't realize, but you had 3 resolutions where basically grants were applied for and we received grant monies, all for good cause. So what we have here is 3 submission of 3 more grant applications. Some of them are for the improvements along Morris Avenue. I just have 2 questions. One, the grants we're asking for, they're not for the same work that's required of the traffic improvements associated with the M Station project?
Correct.
It's not. So these
No.
are separate and apart totally. One of them, I will note, is to put a flashing crossing on Morris Avenue. And I think we should be careful because I think there's mixed results, mixed opinions about the flashing light, for example, up on Speedwell, as we know. That all being said, I'm supporting submitting the applications. I don't think it hurts applying for the monies, okay? But I think that I'd like to see a review, some type of review of those traffic improvements and what's actually being planned to be certain that it's not offsetting any of the obligations of any of the developers' commitments that they made during the planning process. And then secondarily, just to double check to make sure that we're all on the same page, particularly with reference to another traffic crossing, especially given the comments about the traffic on Morris Avenue as it exists currently. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
If I may, just want to clarify that it's not a hawk beacon. It's
not. It's a...
and it's a rapid flashing beacon, including the light and a lighted crosswalk.
Yeah.
So it's a more extensive application than we typically include in other intersections. And the intersection at King Street and Morris is one of the ones that we see a lot of pedestrian hits. So we want to make sure to try to address that with pedestrian safety measures, which is why we're applying for 2 grants for that from 2 different sources.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on the adoption of resolutions R-91-2023 through R-93-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbreak.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Motion carries. And then we have Resolution R-101-2023, resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Morristown discouraging, denouncing, and condemning any use of anti-Semitic symbols except for educational and religious purposes.
I'll make a motion to adopt R-101-2023.
I'll second.
Council President?
Yeah, so I wrote this because, as we all know, if anybody's watching the news, there's been a huge increase in hate crimes, Nazi symbols, Nazis being embraced by everybody. It's disgusting and discouraging, and it just eats at my soul, I want to say. But I had a lot of support from a lot of my elected friends that are Jewish, and I've heard comments of why now, but it's not really why now. It's not why not now. It's time that we were proactive and let people know where we stand in Morristown. And Morristown's not a town of hate. We're all inclusive, as we could see in this room, just in this room. So I just wanted to put it out there. I've gotten a lot of support from this from other organizations, and I'm happy that it was added to the agenda, and I'll leave it at that.
On the adoption of Resolution R-101-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbreak.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
So, moving on to, we don't have any old business, moving on to new business. So, there was a subcommittee formed to look at the proposed expansion of the SID and the Schedule A list of properties included. It was Bob Iannacone, Stefan Armington, and I that met, and we came up with, we had a very long discussion. We mapped out the properties that are now included, the properties that are potentially included, and we decided that a course of action would be to reach out to the administration and get a survey put out to find out the benefits. And Julian, you were going to look into that and give us some language and...
Sure. The administration believes it's the subcommittee's job to come up with the words for the survey and then submit it to the administration and to the legal, and then we will take a look at it and respond to you.
Okay, thank you. So basically, the expansion of the properties is going to increase the revenue for the partnership, and we just want to find out how everybody feels about the benefits of the business district. We know that they work hard for our downtown area, and this is just a way of getting some feedback. So we will submit the questions to the administration and legal and wait for a response. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, I will hereby make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Have a safe trip home. Be careful.